Hello friends, how are you? Welcome to Japan Study Center. Today we are going to see the chapter of geography and what is our topic today? Pressure belt. What do you mean to the air pressure belt? The horizontal distribution of air pressure across the altitudes is characterized by high or low pressure belt. This is however theoretically is models because pressure belt are not to be ever found as such on the earth. We will be see it is a later how to real conditions are departs from to the idealized to the model. On examine why this difference occur. There is an important point here. Examine why this is a difference occur, and this pressure belt are the equatorial low pressure belt, and second here the subtropically high pressure belt, and third the subpolar low pressure belt, and fourth here the polar high pressure belt. There is a most important and show in this picture. There is also important here. Here show the picture polar high and the subpolar low, subtropical high, equatorial low. There is an angle of here. A subpolar low is there is a 66 1 upon 2 north and 45 there is also. And subtropical high is a 35 to 23 is 1.5 of degrees. There is important here. And the lower side here, the lower high is here present. There is a pressure belt. They are important. The equatorial low is a 10 north to zeros and 10 s. There is important, and subtropically high is the 23 1 upon 2 degrees and 35 also. And the 45, the subpolar low is a 66 1 upon 2 is the south. There is important here on this diagram. The very explanation here, the equatorial low pressure belt. There is important here. The sun sign is almost vertically on the equator throughout the year. As a result, the air get a warmth and rise over to equatorial regions and produce a equatorial low pressure. And this belt is extended from the equator to 10 north and the 10 degrees Celsius as a south latitudes, and due to the exclusive heating, horizontal movement of air is absent here, and only is a conventionally current are there. Therefore, this belt is called doldrums, the zone of the clam. Due to the vertical is absence of the surface winds, and these are there is a reason of convergence because the winds flowing from to subtropically high pressure belt is a converge here. And this belt is also known as the intertropically convergent zone, means ITCZ. That is important here. The next here, the subtropically high pressure belt. The subtropical high pressure belt extends from to the tropics to about the 35 degrees altitude in the both the hemisphere. In the northern hemisphere, it is called as the north subtropically high pressure belt, and in the southern hemisphere, it is known as the south subtropically high pressure belt. The extension of this pressure belt is due to the fact that the uprises air of the equatorial region is deflected to about to the pole due to the earth as a rotation. After becoming is cold and heavy, it is a descent in this is region and get a pole to up, and this result in a high pressure. The clamp condition with the feeble and the variable winds are found here. In olden days, vessels with the cargo of the horse passing through this belt found it difficult in the sailings under this clamp condition, and this used to the throw there is the horses in the sea in order to make the vessels lighter. Hence, for this belt altitude are also called to the horse altitudes. Is important here, and these are the reason of the divergence is because wind from this area is blown to about to the equatorial and subpolar low pressure belt. There is so important, and the next topic also important here. The next, the subpolar low pressure belt. That is important. The subpolar low pressure belt extend between to the 45 north and the Arctic circles in the northern hemisphere and between 45 S and the Antarctic Circle in the southern hemisphere. They are known as the North Subpolar Low and the South Subpolar Low Pressure Belt, respectively. The wind coming from there is a subtropically and polar high belt converges here to be produce a cyclonic storm or low pressure condition. And this zone or convergence is also known as a polar front. There is important subpolar low pressure belt. And next here, the polar high pressure belt. There is important here. The polar region sun is never assigned vertically, and sun rays are away to the slantings here, resulting in low temperatures. Because of low temperature, air is compressed and its density is increased. Here there is a high pressure is found here. In the northern hemisphere, the belt is called the North Polar High Pressure Belt. Well, it is known as the South Polar High Pressure Belt in the southern hemisphere. Winds from this belt is below to over to the subpolar low pressure belt. That is important. This system of pressure belt that we have just studied is a generalized picture. In reality, the location of this pressure belt is not a permanent. They shift to the northern in the July and southern in the January. The flowing there is a changing is a position of the sun as a direct ray as they migrate between to the tropically of Cancer and the Capricorn. The thermal equator is commonly known as the belt of highest temperature and also shift northward and the southward of the equator. When there is a shifting of a thermal equator northward in the summer and southward in the winter, and there is also as a slight shift in the pressure belt to about to the north and south of their annual average location. There is an important part here. The important fact here, a subtropical high pressure belt are also called horse attitude. Note that there is an important point. Subsidence and the peeling of air in a subtropical belt cause a high pressure, and convergence of subtropical and polar winds result in the formation of the cyclone in the subpolar region. And high pressure belt are dry while the low pressure belt are humid. And when there is a movement of sun northward and southward, thermal equator also is a shift is a northward and southward. That is important here. And pressure belt also shift northward and southward with the shift of the thermal equator. Our next topic is the most important here, seasonal distribution of pressure. That is important for geography chapter, seasonal distribution of pressure. The variation of pressure from a place to place and from a season to the seasons over to the earth play an important role in the effective the weather and climate. Therefore, we study a pressure distribution through the isobar is a map. Well, the drawings are isobar map. The pressure of all the places are reduced to be sea level to avoid their effect of altitude on the air pressure. You know that there is important here. The various pressure from a place to place is important, and there is the important role in affecting the weather and climate. And the study of pressure distribution through the isobar map. There is important. And next here, January condition. There is a first is the most important here, January condition. In a January, with the southward appearance moment of the sun, the equatorial low pressure belt shift as a little south of the mean equatorial position. In a given figure, area of the lowest pressure occur in the South America, South Africa and Australia. This is because the land tend to be get is hotter rapidly than to the water. Subtropical high pressure cell are centroids over to the ocean to the southern hemisphere. The belt of high pressure is interrupted by their continental landmarks where the temperature is much higher. They are a well of development in the eastern part of the ocean where called ocean current dominated. There is January condition is the most important here. Here show the diagram distribution of the January air pressure. There is the most important. You know that they show the low and high pressure on this diagram, and there is the effect of the countries. The India is also is a pressure of high pressure on this side, and there are low of the Hind Mahasagar, and the low is a high, and there is important for the pressure in the show in this diagram. There is the most important. The January condition in the northern hemisphere, the riders of the high pressure occurred in the subtropically latitudes over the continent. A well-developed high-pressure cells is occurred in their entire part of the Eurasia, and this is due to the fact that land are cooled more rapidly than to the ocean. Its temperatures are lower in the winter than to the surroundings a sea. In the southern hemisphere, the subpolar low pressure belt, a circle there is the earth as a real belt of the low pressure and is not divided into the cells because there is virtually is a no landmarks. In the southern hemisphere, two cells of low pressure, namely is Iceland and low and the Antilles low development over the northern Atlantics and northern Pacific
Next
Ocean
year,
respectively. July condition. In July, the equatorial low pressure belt shift a little northern of the mean equator position because of the northward appearance a moment of the sun. All the pressure belt is shifted to is a northward in the July. There is an important figure here. The July pressure distribution on air on this diagram. There is a low pressure on India side, and other is a high. There is the most important. You know that there is a she on the diagram. The India has a low pressure on July time. There is important show in this picture. The Altair and the Icelandics of the low disappear from to the ocean where there is a land masses. Base development high pressure during to winter month have extensive low pressure cell now. In Asia, a low pressure developed. The subtropically height of the northern hemisphere are more developed over to the ocean, Pacific and Atlantics. In the southern hemisphere, the subtropically high pressure belt is a continually. Subpolar low form as a continually belt in the southern hemisphere, where is the northern hemisphere, there is only a fan ocean low. There is important here.